Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about being under pressure, more specifically myself and me being under pressure. So let's get into it. Now, I'm going to share something with you that I hope will be educational for you and try to, well, not necessarily educational, but hopefully it will be something that is valuable to you, because it's something that I learned the hard way. Right, first and foremost, let's give you some context. Currently, I am working at my company on a fairly big story, or an epic, if you will, which is the sort of epic, well, for the juniors out there, a story is a piece of work. It's just a work task, if you will, something that you should do. An epic is a concept, it's the big thing. An epic is made up of several stories, and it's usually a very large piece of work. And I'm working on just such a thing. Now, this epic is about moving a single language, or single market, if you will, application over to an international product. And as you can imagine, that's a big change, because hey, now there's more than one country, more than one customer. There's all kinds of complexity that comes with having multiple languages, multiple currencies, time zones, yada, 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 all that good stuff. And I am tasked with, right now, setting up the build process for all of my fellow developers. Cool, right? Which means that right now, I'm gonna do that today. I'm going to finalize the approach we have to, well, basically build all our front-end assets, the servers, all that good stuff. Now, why is this such a pressure situation for me? What does this have to do with being under pressure? Am I reaching some type of deadline or something? No, actually not. The pressure I'm talking about is that, you see, when you deliver a feature or a story that is affecting your users, what's nice about that is that it's just, quote unquote, it's just your users. It's something that it works, and the scope and the impact of delivering this thing is very easy for you to verify that you were successful. I mean, the stakeholders, if you will be happy just as long as your users are fairly happy with the product, with the results, and that they can achieve whatever goal they have with your product, right? But when you are working for developers, because my stakeholders, my customer for this specific story are my coworkers and myself, that means that what I'm doing right now will affect everybody at my company who does any type of development for basically forever. Well, as long as we don't refactor the whole code base, basically. So what I'm doing right now is going to determine how effective everybody is at the company. If I get this wrong, people will hate their work process. And if there are any bugs or issues with the work, or like the setup that I'm making right now, it means complete stop for everybody on the development team until it's fixed. And I have made a video before about this. This is the sort of story where once it is delivered, you own it for life. You own it. Because if it's bad, everybody complains and are unhappy, and you are tasked with fixing it because, hey, you're the poor sucker who delivered it. If it's perfect and everything works and it's nice, you still own it, and everybody comes to you for additional features and improvements and so forth and so forth. So, what can I tell you about going through something like this? Well, first and foremost, when I did this last at my previous job, I did it for quite a lot of people as well. I did the same sort of thing, setting up the front-end builds and like putting everything up and so forth. The learnings I had from doing that taught me something very important, and that's what I want to share with you today. And it was that I was a selfish prick. I was, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that when I started setting up my builds and setting up all the tooling and everything that was related to the front-end project for my fellow coworkers and myself at my previous job, I didn't even take the time to check in with my coworkers. Think about that. Because I was so sure that I knew exactly how, I was a front-end specialist, right? That was my title. My job title was front-end developer. I knew my stuff, right? I knew all the tools. I knew what was best. I knew that we should use Gulp instead of Grunt. I knew that all of that stuff. I knew that, right? And since we had some stuff already in the project, I threw that away and just put in what I knew was the best thing. That was the end of the story, right? And when I had done all of that, the outcome of that was basically that all of my coworkers, they felt a little bit uneasy, felt a little bit like they didn't really, we had tons of issues with people not being able to set up their environments. We had tons of issues with, I had to come over and help them, educate them, do all kinds of work just to get them to understand what I had done. And it impacted absolutely everybody. And now, here I am again. And this time, I have a different approach. Today, I hope that I won't repeat these same mistakes that I made the last time. And the difference in approach I have this time is to not go with, all right, I'm an expert, I know this stuff, I'll just rewrite it in the way I want it. What I'm doing today is that I'm looking at what we have. I'm trying to figure out how my coworkers are accustomed to working. I'm not trying to make our build pipeline the most trendy, hip, coolest thing. I'm trying to figure out how the people who has been at this company longer than me have been working so far. And I'm trying to scale that up so that the commands and all the processes that they are accustomed to are improved. They're not changing. The interfaces should change as little as possible. Their job should be they shouldn't have to make much of an adjustment to be productive, because not all of them are front-end specialists. Well, let's be honest here, I'm the only one. Well, we have a few more people who are fairly front-end savvy, but most of them just want to get their job done. So instead of rewriting everything to the trendy, cool thing, I'm trying to figure out how to get the thing that we have today to scale up to multiple markets. And in that process, every step of the way, every technical decision I make, I sync up with some of my coworkers. I make some code, a few adjustments here and there, and I explain what the impact of this is, and then I showcase. And then I do it again, and I showcase. And I've had this process for the last week. Built some proof of concept of how it can work, the pros and the cons, presented it to some of a select group of my coworkers, and asked, do you feel comfortable with this change? Do you think that this is something that you would like working with? And I got a yes every single time. Sometimes I had to iterate, and I got some new ideas from some of my coworkers, so I iterated and changed it, and then they were happy. And this time, I didn't do it alone. I wrote the code, but we as a team decided that this is what we want. And I think that this is the way to do this. And I hope that by the end of this release, this story, I won't have made the same mistake I made the first time. Take that with you, guys. If you're building something that affects absolutely everybody, get a bit of weigh-in from the people that you are affecting. Have a great day.